We call to order the 24th regular meeting of the Lake County Board of Commissioners. Please rise for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Dear God, please bless our meeting today. May our discussions be fruitful, our decisions wise, and our community strong. Amen. Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Here.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Here.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Present. Next on our agenda, we have approval of the regular meeting minutes of May 16th, 2024. Do I have a motion to approve waiving the reading of the same?
I'll make the motion. Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes. Next, we have public comment. Any member of the public wishing to address the board, please step forward, say your name and address, and you have 3 minutes.
Brian Massey, 8196 Rainbow Drive, average citizen on behalf of Lobbyists for Citizens. I have 4 items for the commissioners today. The first is Auburn. I've discovered that Auburn Career Center is funded by a 1.5 mil outside levy that is treated like inside unvoted levy, not subject to House Bill 920, which is meant to reduce the effective tax rate to ensure excessive property taxes are not collected. In addition to taxation without representation, the Auburn Career Center is violating Section 2, Article 7 of the Article 12 of the Ohio Constitution, limiting the inside millage to 10 mils. I know this is a state legislative matter, and I will be talking to Representative Callender and Troy and Senator Serino. Item number 2, today you're going to talk about resolution number 7, authorizing the Adams Board to place their renewal levy on the ballot for a term of 10 years. We are supporting only those levies that are for a term of no more than 5 years. We're not saying that Adams Board is doing a bad job, that we just believe that the taxing authorities should be more responsive to the taxpayers, and it may as well be a continuous levy if it goes for 10 years. So we just feel that the 10 years is far too long. We're also moving forward in getting signatures for the petition to add 2 citizens to the Budget Commission as authorized by the Ohio Revised Code. Our goal is to get the issue on the ballot for the November election. This is a nonpartisan issue, for us. Also, I did speak to former coroner Comer, and we were talking about the new coroner facility. So I'm just wondering if the commissioners can discuss their decision on should we or should we not have a new facility for the coroner versus what they are currently doing with the, I think with the hospital in Concord. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Anyone else for public portion? Anyone else?
Chris West Leroy. 2 weeks ago, we were talking about the dog park commercials that you took it upon yourself to create, Bosch Plechnik, without going through proper channels to create the funding or get the approvals to do so. This spanned from May of 2022 all the way up till November, when we also found out at the very end the ads couldn't be run because you forgot to put in the ads that the time period for renewing the dog licenses. So that a decision was made, they couldn't be run, and the original commercials that had already been paid for from previous years were run instead. Yet the county still had to pay the equivalent of the year's ad budget for the production work that you cost. We did avoid paying 10 times the amount for your ads, which were thinly veiled campaign ads masquerading as promotion of dog licenses, which I'm a dog owner. I know to go get my dog license renewed, or I'm going to get a fine if my dog gets caught. This comes along in the same time frame when you were bragging about your A in ethics and statesmanship based on a class you took, which apparently is a doctorate level course on ethics and statesmanship for public administrators at Liberty University. Key areas relating to public administration, leadership, ethics. Very same year you joined the board, you took time to complete the Ohio State Public Leadership Academy. I think this, in conjunction with your law degrees and all of your other life's work, leads no reasonable person, certainly no judge, would believe that you didn't know what you were doing was a violation of ethics when you were teaching law classes from your county office. According to the settlement agreement with the Ohio Ethics Commission, the prosecutor advised you to stop using your county computer for personal use and to take your personal belongings out of the office. Personal belongings. Is that pictures of your dog? Comfortable pair of shoes, extra suit coat? I wonder what could be personal belongings that the prosecutor would tell you you need to remove from your office. I wonder if those personal belongings show up in the 16 videos recordings that were recorded while you were teaching the class from your county office. Also, wondering why, nearly 2 years later, on May 2nd, 2024, you caused Mr. Hackman to write a memorandum in which he states, you recently requested an opinion from this office regarding 2 30-second television commercials. It goes on to say several things. Then it quotes the Ohio Revised Code, where it says the governing body of a political subdivision may use public funds to publish and distribute newsletters or use any other means to communicate information, and that's permissible. That's not what I was talking about. I'm not talking about the fact that you
Thank you,
appeared in an
Mr.
ad.
Weiss.
I'm talking about the fact that
Thank you,
you
Mr.
misused
Weiss.
public funds to do so.
Thank you, Mr. Weiss.
Good morning. Brian Kolkowski, Leroy Township, Ohio. I come in here because I hear this display by Mr. Weiss every week. Commissioner Plechnik, as far as I can see, has always operated within the law. He's one of 3 commissioners who vote on anything that's occurring. There needs to be a unanimous vote to come up with some decision and to spend money. I'm real curious as to why this is happening. I think there's some relationship to one of the commissioners on here. I've done a public records request and I've asked for communications between Mr. Weiss and the commissioners. And the reason I've done that is a sitting board member at the Auburn Career Center in the past for 12 years, and as a sitting board member on what used to be known as the Lake County Educational Service Center. When we operate, and whether we operate on our personal phones, we operate on our personal computers, we operate on a personal email. If we're doing something that's related to the business of the county, one of the school board, those become accessible. And so you can't hide that. So if Mr. Weiss is coming in here at the behest of one of the commissioners, and there's that kind of communication, that's available, and I'm willing to fight that. So, so I've asked for those communications, and I'm going to push on those communications. And the commissioners, if they're communicating with Mr. Weiss, which I think there may be a commissioner who's doing so, they need to make that available, or they're hiding public records. Or they need to say it's personal. And if it's personal, we'll have that fight, but it's going to be in front of a court. And my options is to file a writ of mandamus for the public records. And I can file it at one of 3 places. I can file it in the county court, I can file it at the 11th District Court of Appeals, or I can file it at the Supreme Court, and I'm going to do so, okay? So unless I hear from the commissioners that there are no such records, then I'm going to be pursuing this case. And I'm sure the county prosecutor will maybe deny that, but that's going to be the fight we're going to have. Now, it's up to the commissioners that sit up there to stop this nonsense, because I don't see anything that Commissioner Plechnik has done wrong. Thank you for the time.
Anyone else for public portion?
Good morning, Commissioners. My name is Carlos Mickler, Willowick, Ohio. I spoke last week. Just had a few more things I wanted to speak about. Sewer rates again in Willowick. My sewer rate has went up, I believe it was 4 times since 2020. I don't know if you commissioners had time to look in what I was talking about last week about the consent decree in the Euclid wastewater plant. But I would like to know one thing. Why is Willowick being, their rate is different from other communities, 2 different communities. One, Willowick and Whitcliffe, are charged by the master meter rate, and the other communities by water consumption. So I was just curious if that may be a reason why the bill is so high. Also on property taxes, I just would like to note again that I like to see the auditor take into consideration the depreciating values of homes, like I believe the mayor of Timberlake was saying. I really think that needs to be taken into consideration. Also, like the real estate market too, they need to be taken into consideration, because if you guys don't really look into that, we could be facing another housing bubble with, like I was telling you guys last week on how I believe that the real estate market causes the prices to soar so highly. Considering that the sales are down, or real estate sales are down in Lake County. I know that for a fact because I did a public records request. Lastly, I wanted to address concerns that Mr. Hamachek had about the employer contribution rate increase that I believe he wanted Mr. Jason Boyd and whatever county administrator and staff to look into. I just wanted to say that there's no House bill for the Ohio Public Employees retirement contribution rate increase, but the PERS board did vote on it. So I don't know if maybe Mr. Hamachek might have meant Ohio Police and Fire Fund, because there is a bill for that to increase their rate to 24%. And if this was to get sponsored, which I've been working on, trying to contact my representative, which is Mr. Daniel Troy. So far, I've only heard from his legal aid, but I've been trying to work with the pension committee. Also been doing research with the Ohio Retirement Study Council. So if it was an increase, it would just be marginal and it would be phased in. So it wouldn't be a big hit to the budget. And like I said, once again, it hasn't been a rate increase in the Ohio Public Employees Retirement System contribution-wise since 1976. Also, for the listening audience, I did want to point out that it's a speaker that comes kind of often, and he always says that something about pensions. In Ohio, we're not guaranteed a Social Security if you're a public employee benefit. You just get a pension. So it's very important to get that. Lastly, I'd just like to note also with the OPERS amortization, it's an open fund. The pension system is not being paid down like a mortgage. It's kind of being paid down annually.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you for listening to me.
Anyone else for public portion? Anyone else? Mayor.
Morning, Commissioners. John Meyer, 39 Minnewawa Drive, Timberlake. Back in June, I was part of the ad hoc, and I went out to reach out to see what the other communities, the counties, in the state were doing as far as the local government fund distribution. And I reached out to Medina, and they sent me their spreadsheet, and they basically said that they used the 1983 historical population data along with the current population, in which this case would be 2020, to come up with their formula. And what I did was I have their formula here, and I was running some numbers average compared to how we are compared to the population. And basically I found out that all their townships are getting between 9.94% to about 12.58% at the high end. And then that's per person. The villages are receiving on the high end $49 per person and $22 on the low end. And then the cities are getting approximately $17 to $18 per person for all the cities. The county is getting 39%, which means, our county is generous where they're actually forfeiting the 20% that they should be collecting and only accepting the 10.8%, which means they're dividing it among the rest of communities, which would bring everyone else's numbers up a little bit. But percentage-wise, the numbers will be the same. So basically, if we're comparing what we had in 1982, we don't know we know one thing, it wasn't based on population. And the other thing we know is that it is based on need, okay? 95% of it was based on need. I know what they're trying to do is they're trying to go to population only, but that is not the model that every single county in the state uses. I haven't found one yet that uses population alone. What they put together was basically a transition to population alone. They couldn't do it in 7 years. They had stretched it out to 10. They're within 90%. This way in year 11 or 12, they'll be at 100%. That's their goal. And again, why? It's just a disproportionate amount of money. I mean, what I understand is they said that everybody came back from that meeting a little bit unhappy. Well, Madison's going to get about a $4 million windfall in 10 years, extra money. Perry, about $500,000. Leroy, $500,000. Concord, by the way, these are all approximate. $6 million. Painesville Township, $5 million. Who's going to lose? All the villages will lose about $2 million total combined over the 10 years. They did give us a little bit more, a cushion, but this is going to be after the 10 years, we'll be at that amount. And then as far as the cities, Willoughby is going to lose about $5 million, Willowick $4 million, and Wickliffe $4 million. So these are the frontline communities that basically we need to rely on this money. I mean, what they did was they took it from the municipalities that they thought were overcompensated per the 1982 formula, and they gave it to basically the townships, which they felt were undercompensated. Again, I've still yet to find a county that goes population alone on distribution. And again, I don't understand how, the townships were a little bit unhappy when they're getting all that extra money. And again, it's like, what constitutes it? Again, they say that the demographics changed. Well, yes, it did for Concord. They doubled, but Madison actually lost population since 1982. So there's a lot of variables in here. And again, I still say that, should we be in this spot? And again, we don't know. But anyway,
Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
ran out of time. Thank you.
Anyone else for public portion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, let us proceed to resolutions.
In the engineer's office, resolution authorizing change order number 1 for the LAK Prouty Road, County Road 414, resurfacing project with Carvo Companies Incorporated, reducing the amount by $221,167.17. Federal aid number FAN E220308, PID number 115910, LCE project number 2021-016.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechner.
Yes.
In the Utilities Department, resolution authorizing execution of an engineering agreement with Environmental Design Group LLC for the Transmission Main Rehabilitation Section 3W, Chagrin River Crossing Project 482W 2024 for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of an engineering agreement with Arcadis US Incorporated for the River Street Force Main Improvement Project 483S 2024 for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Resolution approving final estimate number 7, release of retainage in the amount of $30,343.60 with DB Bentley Incorporated and accepting a 3-year maintenance bond in the amount of $79,097 for Lakeshore Boulevard Waterline Euclid City Line to East 288th Street Project 431W 2020 for the Lake County Department of Utilities.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
And Job and Family Services Department, resolution approving Lake County Department of Job and Family Services vouchers, date of warrant June 21st, 2024, in the amount of $635,000 $527.07.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
Resolution authorizing execution of service contracts between Catholic Charities Corporation, Ohio Guidestone Harbor, United Labor Agency, and the Lake County Board of Commissioners on behalf of the Lake County Department of Job and Family Services to provide workforce services for program year 2024.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Plechnik.
Yes.
In the Commissioner's Office, resolution placing on the ballot at the November 5th, 2024 general election a renewal levy of 0.9 mil for 10 years on real estate within Lake County for the operation of community addiction services providers and community mental health services providers, and the acquisition, construction, renovation, financing, maintenance, and operation of alcohol and drug addiction facilities and mental health facilities in Lake County by the Lake County Adams Board as provided by Section 5705.221 of the Ohio Revised Code.
Move to approve.
Second.
Madam Clerk, we do have with us today the Executive Director of our Adams Board, and I'd like to invite her forward to talk about this issue.
Thank you, Commissioner. Good morning, Commissioners. I will be brief. On behalf of the Lake County Adams Board, I do want to say thank you for supporting our efforts to place this 0.9 mil levy on the ballot. Just by way of perspective, our Adams Board operates with a budget of approximately $17.9 million annually. We run amongst the lowest administrative overheads in the state at 7%. Our average monthly cash balance is $4.5 million, so about 3 months operating. We maintain no other cash reserves, and this has been consistent for over the last decade. Our 0.9 mil levy was first placed on the ballot in 1976. It has been continually renewed or replaced by Lake County taxpayers, most recently renewed in 2014. This generates about $5.4 million, so about 30% of our operating budget. The cost to a Lake County homeowner is $27.56 per 100,000 of home valuation. This is lifeblood funding for us. This levy supports clinical services, including case management, psychiatry, inpatient care. It supports our crisis services, both in the community and our emergency department-based crisis services. This supports housing for individuals with severe and persistent mental illness. This supports services for homebound seniors who are not able to leave their home, so we bring those services to them, and also for our youth who are involved in multiple systems. Challenges with juvenile court, education, the DD system. So we provide home-based services for those individuals as well. It also supports services in our jail. I will remind you that our board contracts with our provider agencies on an annual basis. So every year we issue a request for proposals. We ask for proposals from our provider agencies. We reassess what the needs are of the community. We look at the fiscal accountability of our agencies as well as the clinical outcomes for our services. So this is not a one and done. Every single year, we reassess what the needs are of our community and make sure we're investing in the very best services. So again, on behalf of the board, we thank you for your support.
Thank you. And Mr. Hackman, one question that I have is, my understanding is with these older levies that have been renewed for decades, that they're grandfathered into the Ohio property tax rollback program, so that a certain percentage, if I'm not mistaken, it's either 2.5% or 10%, depending on the levy, is actually paid directly from the state as opposed to the local property owners. Is that the case here?
That is my understanding, yes.
So one of the reasons why there isn't the flexibility to change a property tax levy, for example, to go from 10 years to 5 years, is any changes, you lose that rollback, and then the taxpayer has to pay for the entire levy. You don't get that additional percentage. So much as I prefer shorter terms myself, this decision was made decades ago, and if we were to change it, it would actually increase property taxes on residents. Am I correct?
I believe you are. I have not researched that specific in terms of time spans, but I do believe you're correct.
I do see Ms. Frazier nodding her head. If you wouldn't mind, am I correct?
That is certainly our understanding. That's also why we are not pursuing any kind of a replacement. The renewal will mean no increase in taxes based on valuation.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Any further discussion?
Mr. President,
Mr. Commissioner?
if we could just put a little finer point on that, the dollar amount, although we have a mill rate of 0.9, the effective collection rate is that of when this was originally put in place. So we just need, there is a rollback associated with this. I don't know if you want to expand on that, Kim, that this is, again, no increase over and above what is already being collected.
Absolutely. And as a reminder, our last time this appeared on the ballot, it was also renewal. So this has not been replaced actually since 2004. So we're just, those are the rates on which we are currently collecting. So there would be no increase.
The dollar amount.
Exactly. The
We're
dollar
clear on
amount.
the
Yes.
dollar amount.
Yes.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. President.
Any further discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call, please.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
Resolution reappointing Steve Valenga to the Lake County Public Defender Commission for a 4-year term expiring June 30th, 2028.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk, roll call.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
Resolution appointing Elaine Prioreshi Waits to the Lake County Public Defender Commission for a 4-year term expiring June 30th, 2028.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Then I would just say a special thank you to Steve Valenga and Elaine Waits for their willingness to serve. The public defender is a very important county function. They came highly recommended from the Public Defender's Office, and we're grateful for their contribution to the community. Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
In the Finance Department, resolution approving payment of bills as listed on the Commissioner's Approval Journal in the amount of $4,279,797.80.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
Resolution approving purchase orders as listed on the Commissioner's Purchase Order Approval Journal in the amount of $1,920,648.81.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
Resolution increasing an appropriation for a non-general fund account.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes.
Resolution transferring appropriations within various general and non-general fund accounts.
Move to approve.
Second.
Any discussion? Hearing none, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pletchnik.
Yes. With the conclusion of resolutions, it's time for departmental reports, starting with utilities. Thank you. Then Job and Family Services.
Thank you, Commissioner. I just wanted to take a moment to thank all of our staff members, community partners, members of the community, yourself, Commissioner Pletchnik, and Commissioner Hammercheck for participating in the walk last week to raise awareness regarding World Elder Abuse Awareness Day. So thank you.
Thank you so much. Any questions? Hearing none, then let's move on to our County Administrator, Jason Boyd.
Yes, good morning, Commissioners. Thank you. Spend a couple minutes on the status of our Public Safety Center process. We are nearing the completion of the design development stage. Matter of fact, those documents are due, I believe, Thursday from HOK. Those will be available. As you recall, this process started with the program, followed by schematic design, finishing up detailed design, and will end in what's called construction documents, which we all would kind of recognize as blueprints, if you will. And then those will be used to create the GMP this fall, the guaranteed maximum price. Currently, we're slowly beginning the transition, if you will, from HOK, which has been the lead designer along with K2M, to our design build team, which is Gilbane. Gilbane has been conducting a series of what's called design assist interviews the past week and a half or two, where we've chatted with various disciplines, including those guys and gals who who do soil borings and geotechnical work, to electrical firms, to communications firms, those folks who fabricate the jail cells. Commissioner Hammercheck sat in on a couple of those. The point of the Design Assist Initiative is to bring those folks in who will be on the site in quality control and vet the design to date. There is, I guess you would say, an upfront cost to that, but we have, and I've said this in the past, the guys and gals who will be swinging hammers are involved now, and not when we let the bid package out, if you will. So a lot of credit to Gilbane. They've spent a lot of time in this room. Matter of fact, I think they're over with the sheriffs today doing some interviews. And they'll look to select those design assist firms the 1st of July as they continue to build the design build team. Ultimately, Gilbane will be the builder, and K2M, the architect currently on the design team, will transition over to the design build team. And I'll explain more of this process in the next week or two when I give a formal presentation on where we are at with the jail process. I have submitted variance requests, conditional use permit applications to the city of Painesville, so we'll be on the docket in July. Thank you to Doug Lewis and the city planning staff for holding my hand through their application process to ensure we provided a comprehensive package to them. Additionally, on the buildings on site, so this is the OSU Extension Building, 125 East Erie, and the Burger King of note. Those are contracts that have been let by the land bank to begin that demolition process, which will start with asbestos abatement here in the near term, followed by the demolition. I think the next 60 to 90 days is the contract term. Subsequent to those 3 or 4 buildings, as you know, we acquired 197 a couple weeks ago, and we have a couple other properties, the old barber shop and Mexican restaurant on the corner of St. Clair and Jackson, excuse me. I'm working with the land bank right now on kind of taking advantage of the contracts they have let and seeing if those contractors can demo the existing buildings that we have, which will ultimately clear the footprint that we've been working on for 3 years for the entire site. So that's great news. To steal Commissioner Hammercheck's line, that future-proofs the site for years to come when we're all out of the picture and that need for expansion occurs. So things are moving as planned. I never want to step on the sheriff's toes if I'm misrepresented, but I think we're on point. I'm sure he's got a handful of crew over there right now sitting in his interviews. Like I noted, I'm working on a very informative presentation that I'll present at a future commissioners meeting, and we'll go over from where we started to where we've come and all stops in between. So thank you.
Wonderful. Then, Madam Clerk.
The next commissioners' meeting is scheduled for Thursday, June 27th at 10 a.m.
And legal.
No reports, Commissioner.
Very good. Well, that brings us to old business. Any old business before the commission? Hearing none, any new business? Mr. DeMar.
Real quick, we do have a public hearing next week for the 2025 tax budget that will start at 10 right before the meeting. And Auditor Galloway will also be giving a presentation on the real estate revaluation during that public hearing. So that'll be coming up next week, Thursday morning.
Thank you. Well, then I would just add for purposes of new business that in addition to Mr. Boyd's work on a comprehensive jail presentation, and hopefully in the near future we'll get a longer update, kind of cradle to grave, on where the project is at and where it's going. I've asked him to start work on a sort of state of the county address so that we can really give perspective on where we are budgetarily, so that as we go into the next budget cycle, as we plan for the jail, as we plan for all the other major projects the county is going to be engaged in over the next 5-10 year period, we have some perspective, particularly for department heads and employees who want to know where the county's at, where are our challenges, what's going right. I think it'll be helpful for everyone to be on the same page, and I know that we're grateful to Mr. Boyd for his hard work. So he's been in presentation mode lately, and that will continue because the county is kind of at a pivotal moment where we're making some very large decisions on the jail and budgetarily, and it's important that the public and that all of our stakeholders understand those issues. So many thanks to Jason for his hard work. Any other new business before us?
Mr. President, just one comment to our gentleman who's referring to the police and fire versus the PERS. I do stand by the $1.2 million impact. That may not sound like a great deal of money given our budget, but that is significant. You are correct that the pension board did vote, but the House did not take it up. It basically gave us a one-year reprieve. So we do need to be aware that that is a potential $1.2 million impact that we would be required to put out. So just to allay your concerns, I appreciate you doing the research on that. It means a great deal when we have engaged members of the public who look into those things. So thank you, sir, for your time. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you, Mr. Commissioner. And also to the gentleman from Willowick, I would add, ultimately, every city decides what costs they're going to pass through from the Euclid sewer treatment plant. And so you're going to see differences from city to city. I know that Willoughby Hills, Willowick, and Wickliffe are their major customers in Lake County. And every city has a different approach somewhat. Sometimes they pass on the entire amount of the increase. Sometimes they pass on some of it. I think that Wickliffe has just passed on the entire increase off the top of my head. I know that Willowick has passed on most, but not all of it. And so each city council and mayor has the flexibility to decide, does the city eat some of the cost or pass it all on to the residents? But ultimately understand the residents are paying for it one way or another, 6 of one, half a dozen for the other. Either you're paying for it directly on your water sewer bill, or you're going to pay for it through your income and property tax, because city money is obviously your taxpayer money. With respect to the consent decree, Euclid had to do a very substantial upgrade to their plant, and they've basically passed that cost on to all of their users, including Western Lake County communities. It is incredibly expensive to change from one provider to the other because you have to build new infrastructure. So it's not as simple as saying AT&T raised their price and going to Verizon. You actually have to build new lines for your water sewer that connects you to different plants. And that is millions and millions of dollars, and in most cases are cost prohibitive. So to some extent, Euclid knows they have a captive audience, which has put communities like yours and Willowick and mine and Willoughby Hills in a very tough spot, because the cost to switch to a different provider would be so much money, and the savings may or may not justify that switch over the long term. So it's a difficult position that Western Lake County communities are put in, largely because Euclid knows they have a monopoly with the customers that are already tied directly into them. And ultimately, your city has to decide, do we pass that cost directly on to the user, or do we subsidize it from all taxpayers to some extent? And I'm not here to tell you what the right or wrong answer is, but one way or the other, you are paying Euclid for those higher costs. Any further new business? Hearing none, I would entertain a motion to adjourn.
I'll make the motion.
Second.
Madam Clerk?
Commissioner Regovich.
Yes.
Commissioner Hammercheck.
Yes.
Commissioner Pledgenik.
Yes, we stand adjourned.